What's up, everyone? It's the Leading Edge Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Thompson. It's episode number 56. Thank you so much for engaging. As always, check it out. I'm making this podcast in the early morning of Christmas Day. It's in the wee hours of the morning here on Christmas. The girls are upstairs, snuggled in their beds. Images of sugar plum fairies dancing through their heads, or however that goes. I don't really remember the line of that book, but you get the gist. I hope they don't wake up while I'm recording this. I don't think they will because it is super early in the morning, so I think that we're safe. So here at the end of 2020, what I'm hoping for all of you is that you're happy, that you're healthy, that you're safe wherever you are. It's been quite the year, which relates to the title of this podcast, which is called Showing Up. The title of this podcast, number 56, is called Showing Up. By the way, we just have gone by 6,000 downloads. Actually, we've gone way past 6,000 downloads. We've blasted through that. So thank you so much. Thank you for all my podcast listeners for being a part of this, for checking this out, for connecting with me through the podcast. I so appreciate it. And so you all need to know here at the end of 2020 that I have just had the best year I've ever had. I have had my best every year. And I'm going to tell you why that is, all the reasons why, specifically why I think that 2020 has been my best every year. And ultimately, guys, what this is going to be about is back to the title. Ultimately, it's because I showed up. And how I showed up, that's why I feel that way. That's why I think that this has been my best every year. And even before I tell you why I think specifically 2020 has been my best every year, I want to tell you why I'm telling you this. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to know, all my real estate friends, I want you to know that it's possible, all right? It's possible to show up. It's possible to create some really awesome outcomes even when tough stuff is happening on the outside. So if you're sitting there saying, whoa, time out. Eric is just saying he's had his best every year in the year 2020. Are you kidding me? I want you to hear me out. Just hear me out to the end, all the way to the end. I'm going to make my point. So hang in there with me. And you need to know I would never, ever, ever wish for the things that came along this year. I wouldn't wish it, of course, on me. I wouldn't wish it on other people. I wouldn't wish a pandemic. I wouldn't wish racial tension. I wouldn't wish political divisiveness. Think about a year ago, so at the beginning of 2020, would we ever have imagined these things coming along? I think that we saw the political stuff coming, but probably not to the degree that it turned out to be. I don't think we saw that level of intensity around it. And a pandemic, really, are you kidding me? A pandemic. We had a pandemic come along in 2020. And I laugh not to make light of it. I just laugh because it's mind blowing. Really, in this day and age, really, a pandemic. And I guess, it turns out the pandemics come along around about every 100 years. Pandemics come along. So one came along. And so if you were directly impacted by COVID, I feel for you. I feel for you, whether it was direct impact economically or health-wise, you, loved ones, I feel for you. You need to know, from my heart, I feel for you. I know people who were, and Julie and I have done what we can to help them, to support them. And so my heart goes to you if you were impacted. So I sit here telling you this was my best ever year in 2020. But the thing is, I wouldn't wish it. I wouldn't wish to do it over. Even though it was my best ever year, I wouldn't wish to do it over, right? So I wouldn't wish for people to get sick from this, right? I wouldn't wish for hospitals to be filling up. I wouldn't wish for what the frontline workers are going through right now, the stress and just working themselves to the bone. I wouldn't wish for all the kids to be missing out on school and to be having to take school from home online. And I just look at my own kids and it breaks my heart to not see them in school with their friends at recess, doing all the things that a fifth grader and a sixth grader should be doing at school, and all those fun little social lessons and interactions and games and laughing and all those important things that happen even outside of the classroom at school. I wouldn't wish for that. I wouldn't wish to wear a stupid mask every time I need to go into a store, and wouldn't wish that in anything, right? So I wouldn't wish for any of this. I wouldn't wish to do this year over again, but it's my best year I've ever had. It's the best year I've ever had, guys, because I'm really proud of how I showed up. I'm really proud of how I showed up. And all those things came along that were out of our control. And I sit here feeling super proud about how I showed up. And I've showed up this year at a higher level than I ever have, right? I've showed up this year more than I ever have. And again, the only reason I'm telling you this is to tell you that it's possible and to encourage you to show up, to step up. So just keep that in mind as we go along, that's my goal with this, because what I think, what I know, what I believe is that the world needs us to show up, right? That's what the world needs right now, is a whole lot of people showing up. It doesn't need people who aren't showing up, who are hiding, who are shirking from responsibility, from challenge. The world needs people who are able to show up because the world needs help right now, like it always does. So just understand that that's my motivation. That's my inspiration for making this, is because I feel like I was able to in a really good way. And so I want you to be doing the same thing, because we're all going to benefit from that. So this year I did things that I've always wanted to do. Like there are things I did this year that I have wanted to do for, in some cases, for more than 10 years, right? Just things that have even been nagging at me, just kind of poking at me from the inside, like, dude, you need to go do it. When are you going to go do it? When are you going to finally step up and do this? And I did it this year. And it turned out that this was the perfect year to do many of those things. So even though part of me wishes I would have started sooner, even more than that, I'm like, all right, this was the year to do it, right? This was the year to do those things. So for instance, I have always wanted, and when I say always, I mean for 10 plus years, I have wanted to have a flourishing coaching and training business. Like that has been a dream of mine to do for a long time, to be impacting a whole lot of people in a big, big way. That's something I've journaled about, read about, written about, dreamed about, thought about, like all the time. And up until 2020, my coaching training business has been a side hustle. It's been a side hustle. It's been a hobby. It's been something that I've dabbled in. And not this year. This year I made it happen, right? This year I made it happen. I turned it into a real life thing. And it turns out it happened when COVID came along. COVID triggered it. So here's what happened. So COVID came along, and what I noticed was it was challenging for a lot of people, understandably challenging. And then the other stuff came along, the racial tension, the political divisiveness, and this was really, really tough on a lot of people. And what I found myself doing is that I was drawing on the experience and the lessons that I had been taught by some really amazing people in my life. Some of those people know me. Some of those people don't know me from Adam, right? Because I read their books or I watch their videos or, been to their big seminars, but they don't know who I am, but I sure know who they are. And as I'm recording this podcast, I'm looking at my bookshelf that's full of these mentors that I have, these people that have written these books that have been so influential to me. And what was I doing when all this stuff came down in February and March? I was reading this stuff, right? I was going back to it. I was going back to my lessons, and I found that it was really, really helping me. Like it was helping me to stay focused, to stay productive, to step up in ways that I needed to. And I was like, it seems like this would be helpful for other people to see and learn and get. So what I did is I started a daily webinar, right? I started at the end of March. I started doing a daily webinar for 20 minutes long. And all I did is I taught little mindset lessons that I knew were relevant. I knew were going to help out all my real estate friends. And it turned out to be even people beyond real estate engaging with this. Hundreds of people were getting on this webinar to be helped with their mindset. And that was the start of my training and coaching business really, really taking off, right? And I didn't really intentionally start this daily webinar in order to invigorate and launch my coaching business. I did it because I'm like, this would be cool. This would help people out. And it turned out that that was the thing. And the thing is, I have had so many mentors tell me the exact thing I needed to hear at the exact moment I needed to hear it. Like, I cannot tell you the long list of people that I would put on that list of mentors. I can't tell you the number of times that that has happened for me. That would be a really, really long list. And it feels so good to be able to do the same thing for other people, like to be able to pass that on, to be like a conduit for these things that I've been taught and to now give them to other people. It feels really, really amazing. And also what's happened for me this year is I've really been able to take care of my health. Like, my health is in a fantastic place, a better place than it ever has been. And I've just been focused on, all right, these are the things that I want to do in the way that I want to do them, knowing that this is the kind of energy I'm going to need to do it. This is how I'm going to need to feel in order to do it. And so what it's got me to think about and got me to focus on and be aware of what I consume, right? So what I'm consuming and what I'm not consuming, so that I can be at my best, so I can perform at even a higher level. That's what it's got me doing. So I'm so proud of that. Also, I'm proud related to my health. I ran a marathon this year. I ran a marathon in 2020. I'm proud of how I did it. I told a story about that in another podcast. I was all set to run a marathon. Of course, COVID came along, canceled the marathon event, and I said, you know what? The heck with it. I'm going to run my own. So I came up with my own route. It was some loops around my house, allowed me to pass by my house a few times to refill my water and get some energy gels in me and all that kind of thing. But I went out and I did my own marathon. Julie joined me for part of it on her bike, joined me for part of it running with me. Thank goodness she got me across the finish line running with me at the very end. But I'm proud of that, right? So I'm proud that I still did it, even though the big event was canceled, all right? So here's the thing about showing up. Here's the thing about showing up. In this mastermind, in this mindset mastermind that we do, it's called Alpha State. So part of what we do there is what's called the Friday download. So the Friday download is a worksheet that everyone fills out to recap their week. The first question on that worksheet asks them, scale 1 to 10, how did you show up this week? On a scale of 1 to 10, how did you show up? So what we do is we all score ourselves on how we showed up. And the thing is, we're scoring ourselves on how we showed up, even when tough circumstances come along, right? So how did we respond? Did we respond in the way we needed to? Did we show up even when tough stuff came along that we had no control over? So what we don't score ourselves on, or what the score is not about on a scale of 1 to 10, the score is not about, was the world nice to us? And that's always the temptation, right? That's always the temptation. When we do this exercise, when you're thinking back on the week, all right, scale of 1 to 10, how did I show up? The temptation is to score the world on how nice it was, on the job it did, on delivering easy circumstances to us or really beneficial circumstances. So I guess the extreme of that would be you would give it a 10 if you won the lottery, right? Like if the world delivered the lottery to you, you would give it a 10. Well, no, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, did you show up on a scale of 1 to 10, regardless of whatever the circumstances were. So even if the circumstances were amazing, even if the circumstances were tough, did you show up? So there are 3 questions to ask related to that. Did you do what you needed to do? So along came the circumstance, along came the thing out of our control. Did you act in the way you needed to act? So did you step up? Like, did you step up and step into that circumstance and do what needed to be done? Like, act in the way that you needed to act, or did you hide, right? So if you hid from it, if you shirked from it, if you ran away from it, you don't get a 10, right? Like, you don't score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. But if you do step up, like if you're like facing it, squaring up to it, you get a 10. The second question is, did you feel the way that was the right way to feel? And sometimes, guys, sometimes the right way to feel is to feel bad, right? Sometimes it's perfectly appropriate to feel frustrated, to feel sad, to feel mad, to feel angry, right? Sometimes that is the exactly appropriate emotion to have. But then, of course, the question becomes, do you stay there, or do you allow it to be a catalyst and then move on to something else? Or did you just whistle zippity-doo-dah even though there was tough stuff happening, right? So if you're just like keeping your head in the clouds or putting your head in the sand and ignoring it, and the old like putting your fingers in your ears and saying la 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 so you can't hear what's happening on the outside, did you just put this like very inauthentic grin on your face even though there were some tough things happening? Well, no, that's not showing up. Like, showing up is feeling what you're supposed to feel. All right. So I had a good friend whose dad passed away this year, and he told me by text that he was having a tough time. And what I said back to him is, dude, that sounds perfectly appropriate, right? Your dad passes away unexpectedly. You're supposed to be super sad and really bummed out and even mad at the world and questioning why this happened. And those are totally appropriate things to say and feel. So you get a 10, right, when you feel the things that you're supposed to feel. The third question to ask is, what am I making this mean, right? What am I making this mean? So we watched so many people this year make this mean. When they looked at what was happening on the outside, they were making it mean, and they were asking themselves, what is the world coming to? They were saying, what is the world coming to right now? Versus those who said, you know what, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to step up, to show up, to really, really help people out. Oh my gosh, there are people who need help right now. This is an opportunity to help them out. So if you found yourself saying, what's the world coming to? There's a better way to show up, right? The level 10 way to show up is to say, all right, what's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity to contribute? How can I make a difference? How can I help some people out? Whether it's your clients, your family, your friends, your community, how can I show up? That's what the scoring yourself on 1 to 10 is all about, like reflecting on the week. What came about, and did you show up? Did you do the things you needed to, feel the ways that you needed to feel, think the way you needed to think in order to be at your best and make your very best contribution? So guess what? Guess what? We have no control over the circumstances. It turns out we have no control. For example, about a pandemic, right? We have no control about that. And thank goodness that the vaccine is now coming about. People are excited about that. The lights at the end of the tunnel. That's amazing. And we have no control over that pandemic showing up. And guess what? Here at the end of 2020, getting ready to start into 2021, there are things that are going to happen in 2021 that we don't even know about yet, that we have no control over, right? We have no control over these things that happen. And we only know that there are going to be opportunities to show up. That's all that we know. Like, like when you boil it down, looking at the end of this year, getting ready to start a new year, that's really all we know. And when I say circumstance, when I say outside things, it's good and bad, right? So we've talked about some bad things in this podcast, like a pandemic, but there's also good things, right? And I think about opportunities to show up when good things come about. Like, for example, my kids are 12 and 11. And here we are in the midst of the holidays, and it is magical. It's magical to be experiencing the holiday season. We celebrate Christmas, and the Christmas season is an incredible time when you have a 12-year-old and 11-year-old. And I made a conscious choice over the last couple of days that I'm going to show up with my kids during this time, during this holiday time, because this will be a fleeting moment, right? I only get a few more chances with them at home at Christmas, so I'm going to show up. So, for example, I can't tell you the number of games that we've played over the last couple of days in my house. We've played Uno and Stratego and Clue and Gin Rummy and on, right? Just playing all these games because I really wanted to be fully engaged with my family, with my kids. I wanted to show up, not just be tuned out on my phone because I only get a few more chances. I wanted to give myself a 10, scale 1 to 10. How did I show up? So what I want for you, here's what I challenge you. I want you to ask yourself at the end of each week, and even better every day, and even better in every moment, ask yourself, scale 1 to 10, how am I showing up right now? How am I showing up right now, scale 1 to 10? Am I doing what I need to do? Like, am I doing what the world is asking me to do? Am I feeling what is totally appropriate to feel? Am I thinking in the way that is the very best way for me to think about this? Am I making this mean something that is useful to me, that is valuable to me, that is going to serve me and serve the world? Am I making this mean the right thing? Because we have a choice on how we make things mean. So that's the question, guys. Every week, every day, every moment, scale 1 to 10, how are you showing up? And when you show up, we all benefit. So I'm asking you selfishly to show up because I know I'm going to win. I know the world wins when all of us can step up, when all of us can show up in the ways that we need to show up. And there has never been a time, at least in my lifetime, there's never been a time where showing up has been so important, so useful, so valuable to the world because of these tough things that are happening on the outside. So what I wish for you guys, I wish you a happy holidays. I wish you a happy new year. I wish you health and happiness. I hope you're safe. I hope you're connecting with family and friends. Even if you're not listening to this during the holiday season, I wish all those things for you. I also would tell you, if you want to see more about this Mindset Masterclass, go to alphastateclass.com to check it out, to join. You need to join, be a part of this, excuse me, so that you can get this daily motivation and inspiration that I know is really going to help you out. All of you inspire me. I so appreciate all of you. Happy holidays, happy new year. And I'll see you in the next episode. In the meantime, enjoy life on the leading edge. Talk to you soon.